Bonjour, this is Jasmine. Thank you so much for stopping to smell the roses on Rue Madame. For those of you who are new here, I am a writer, a storyteller, and a community builder. I write about culture, politics, parenthood, and my life here in France. And if you'd like to be introduced to my creative writing, head over to patreon.com/Rue Madame and get access to the recent articles that I've written. There are some that are open to anyone who wants to read it, and others that require you to make a pledge and support a writer. So check that out. Thank you again for all my patrons that are sticking with me and helping me get this passion project off the ground. And recently I've become an author of a children's book. And if you don't know already, the name is Joelle Confronts the Weather with What's in the Cupboard. And I'm so happy I finally got my copy in the mail. Check out the back. You have my husband and I, our caricatures there. I'm so happy with how it turned out. My son actually loves his book because he knows this is him, but also he gets to see his family in cartoon form or in print, and he loves it. He wants me to read it over and over and over again. And I'm just really, really proud of my husband who did the illustration. But since my husband is the illustrator and I'm the writer, and this is about our son or inspired by our son, it's kind of biased, I'm sure, that my son loves it so much. So I would love to hear other children's reaction to it. So if you have that, post it online and tag me. I'd love to get that feedback. So thank you so much. It's available. I'll give you the link in the description. This video is a reaction, actually, to a Grapevine episode that just came out, and it's about the Black vote. And since this is the season for politics and voting and the importance of getting out and advocating for our issues, this is Black Lives Matter included, and justice for Breonna and George and all of the victims of police brutality, trying to get this movement more visible and trying to negotiate and fight for justice. And we're trying to fight with, I'm not going to say the lesser of two evils, but the better negotiation possibilities. Like, I don't think we can really negotiate with the current administration at all. So just finding what do you call it? A balance or a compromise or a tipping point. If you are unsure of voting or not, the tipping point should be, who can we negotiate more with, even though we're not necessarily 100% excited and jubilant and in a great agreement with everything that they are offering. So back to the Grapevine episode. The episode is the Black vote. And they initially started with Kamala. And if you don't know, the Grapevine is a panel show where they have Black intellectuals and millennials, not necessarily famous, but have a following usually, but are educated and have a lot to say, very articulate and informed. And they started with Kamala and what they thought about Kamala. And if you haven't seen the video I've done on Kamala, it's titled Kamala is No Nina. I'm a big fan of Nina Turner. I'm not a very big political person. I dabble and I try to get more and more involved. As I get older, I'm seeing how important it is and how relevant it is to my life as far as having kids and education and be concerned about their future more than myself and how the world will be in a couple of years when they are able to vote and able to be out there and exposed to the world. So politics, even though I'm not really enthused about it 9 times out of 10, but I do what I can. So they started with Kamala, and they had the same take on her as I did. Excited that she's the first Black VP pick for the presidential candidacy, and how that's a big thing, and we're happy for her. I'm rooting for her because she is in that very special, unique, marginalized group, and there's a light on that group now because of her. And not only because of her, but she is bringing a lot of attention to that. And also, it was expected. That's what the panel kind of agreed on. It was expected. And, we're happy that she's not a typical, white old, it doesn't automatically mean she's going to be better, but it's glad to see some color, and she's a woman, and, we need some more of that too in our government. So it was expected, and it was a lot of symbolism. What they kind of said also on the Grapevine, like, it was a great day for symbolism when she was chosen. And I think their argument also was the Democratic Party is used to symbolism and tokenism and how that brings in votes. And afterwards, there's not a lot else that's catering to the Black and brown communities, but just symbolism. But that was discussed. And Queen, one of the panel members, had a quotable moment that I had to write down. She basically said, let's stop standing politicians. They're not like Beyonce or, Katy Perry or Michael Jackson. These are politicians. These are servants of ours, not entertainment figures. Let's stop standing them. I'll see people online, friends of mine, don't say anything bad about Kamala. I don't want to hear anything, or you're deleted, you're canceled. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I'm all for the not bashing or disrespecting or belittling or tearing down Black women. That's a no-go. But critiquing or bringing up her record and things like that, it's like, if you have legitimate critiques, it's like, again, this is not your mother. This is not your fave or, your favorite actor or actress that you want to hold dear to you. This is a politician. Let's start treating them like politicians again. That's what their job is, to be critiqued and to, push them to do more for us. Oh, she's Black, so you can't, okay. But again, being respectful and also taking in consideration for where she stands in the hierarchy of our society, being in a marginalized seat, looking at her and judging her the same way you would judge another district attorney or whatever other position that she had. It's kind of like, you can't do that either. Put it in context. She had faced barriers in this position that other people don't. And she is fighting up against her own establishment if she was to change anything significantly. So it's just you can't really just oh, well, I'll treat everybody, all politicians, the same way, because, it's just paying attention to nuance and intersections. That's important. So yeah, stop standing our politicians, really, like, ugh. And on the Grapevine, they talked more about her record. And I really had to look at that also because they really went in on the list of for and against, what's real legitimate critiques and what has been, blown out of proportion. Because they mentioned Klobuchar and Gabbard, I think, um, and other politicians that work in police or military or in these institutions that we claim to dislike very much, and they didn't get the same critique or condemnation that Kamala got because she is black, so she's supposed to be held to some, she has to be twice as good. And it also has to do with the media, like targeting her even more because she's a woman and she's a person of color. So again, nuance, intersections, and looking at it from a lens, not just, oh, everybody will be treated equally, because that's actually unfair to treat everybody equally when people have disadvantages to begin with. So yeah, I talked about her record a lot. They also talked about voting, obviously. The black vote, it's very important or not. It was discussed. And what I often get, even from the lovely discussion I had with Kyra Harris Bowden, representative in Michigan, she stressed voting. Let's vote. Is what her slogan was. We have to vote. We have to get out there. There's no excuses. And we hear that a lot. Vote, 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 without mentioning voter suppression. Like, they also mentioned the Obamas mentioning how the last election, there was just a small margin of people that could have voted that didn't vote. And that's why we lost, is what their thinking was. And they claimed, or the Grapevine panel members claimed that, oh, there was a lot of shaming from their part, but without mentioning voter suppression and how it's a bigger thing that no one seems to want to make a big deal about. Like, vote, vote, vote. Yes, the post office is down. Yes, ballot boxes and places to vote are being closed down. Yes, it's getting harder. Yes, it's almost impossible. But vote, 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 vote. It's like, I'm not going to talk for all of Americans. I'm going to try to mainly focus on what the Grapevine was focusing on and like stay on their demographic. Their demographic is Black and brown communities, particularly Black people who are struggling, at a bigger proportion than non-Blacks. Speaking of voting without acknowledging voter suppression, it's kind of like a slap in the face. It's like COVID-19 and this pandemic and voter suppression and police brutality and just going outside is just like a threat to my life if it's not the police or COVID or just, normal freak things. It's kind of a slap in the face. So I think, like they were saying on the Grapevine, what I noted is, where's the accountability? Where's the investigation? Where is the prosecution? Where is the action, criminal action against this type of behavior? Like I saw the Postmaster General being grilled by Congress or Congress members or whoever about this messing with the post office. Okay, you chastise them. Who's going to jail? Who's going to prison? Like, if I open my neighbor's mail, that's a felony. If I tamper with such and such package that's not mine, that's federal prison time. So the president and this master general, whoever, deliberately opens, basically to the offense of opening someone else's mail is nothing compared to what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like, and where's the accountability? I don't get it. Like, just bringing him to Congress saying, oh, what are you doing? Is just like, okay, he's going to answer, oh, I'm doing this, that, and the other. And then after that, then what? No charges, no, I don't care if you scold him. I don't care if you drag the president. What is going to come of that? As far as criminal charges for actually deliberately screwing with the next election. It goes also with the last election, as far as the interference from foreign countries and the deliberate misinformation spread on social media. There's no accountability. It's like, basically what they're saying is, yes, we're going to do voter suppression and no one's going to say anything about it or do anything about it. No one can, because the president was impeached, but he's still president. So it's like these symbolic gestures of, oh yeah, don't do that, president, or don't do that, Republicans. Oh, that's not good. And people are still just walking scot-free, still doing the same thing. And it's like, but you come at voters like, vote, vote, vote. It's like, okay. Other things that they said, I know it's like a mini rant, but I think it's important. They continued on the Grapevine. Love the Grapevine. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. It's really good. They asked the question, do you think Joe and Kamala has what it takes, has what it takes to beat the current administration? Like, are they convincing enough? Are their policies good enough? Is their strategy good enough? Are you sold on what they're giving us? That's a good question. And I think it's kind of not a rhetorical question, because I just feel like we see what's in front of us. We see the catastrophe that we have. I don't even think, do they have enough is even necessary to ask. It's like, and that's not good either, to say anybody is better than this person. But Kamala is qualified. She has her credentials. Joe has experience and he's in mental decline, but far in light years ahead of our current administration. So it's like, yeah, we can critique them. Yeah, we can call them out. Yes, we can hold them to a higher standard because the bar is so incredibly low, while also still voting for or against the current administration. So you can either vote for them, which a lot of people aren't, super enthused about, or you can just vote against the crazy psycho man in the White House. And I think that's where a lot of people are leaning. So that's what the overall conversation was about. And I thought it was fair. It was fair, and it was equally balanced as far as critiques and praises and questions as far as what we should expect. The one moment in this panel discussion that had me like crying in tears laughing was Jay. Jay is Janisha, her whole name, but she goes by Jay. And she calls out this guy, Carl, for being ridiculous, foolish, and not productive or helpful in the Black vote discussion, because he was given a lot of misinformation and just saying things all willy-nilly, even though in his mind he was very firm and convicted on saying these things. And she kind of just went off on him because he was trying to imply that, oh, why are Black people voting? We've gone this far and the Democrats haven't given us anything. We have nothing to show for the last, 100, 150 years, or whatever he was trying to say. Basically saying that our ancestors and our grandma, grandpa, great-grand, nana, mama, and papa, they didn't do much as far as voting is concerned. Maybe that was his point, to help us now. And I actually got this same critique from my cousin Rebecca. My cousin Rebecca, I don't know what we were talking about. Surely we have a lot to talk about as far as our society is concerned, and as far as Black people in particular. But Malcolm X came up. And Rebecca comes to me and says, oh, well, Malcolm X, I don't think he's that great. I mean, I think he could have did more. I'm just not that fond of Malcolm X. And I looked at her, I'm like, did she say that? Rebecca. It's easy to say ridiculous things like that in 2020. Comfortably in your suburban home with your 2-car garage, chilling. Of course, it's not easy. We're Black. But to say Malcolm X, born maybe in the 50s, grew up in the 60s, popular, to be as outspoken as he was at the time, 60s, on national television in front of like white supremacists, openly, outwardly welcoming out, white supremacist nation, not like now where it's just like not, politically correct or nice to be that outwardly racist. But at the time it was. So for this man, this Black man, to do just that, if he just did that alone, would be like worth someone's praise. Like, but he didn't stop at that. He was organizing. He did a lot of things. And for you to not do those things and not do, even 1% of what he's done probably, and say, oh, he could have did more. What are you doing? Nothing. Are you voting? No. Then what are you doing? Well, I support Black businesses. Okay. Okay, you support Black businesses. For you to... Malcolm X is a hero and leader that did a lot. And he died for it. So never ever part your lips to say that again. Anyways, so that is a small slither of Black people saying, oh, well, Black people, we have nothing to show for. It's like, pick up a book, read. No, don't even go on the internet and read. Like, actually get to the library and read. And if you can't actually wake yourself up, plan to go to the library, plan to look through the shelves or look through the directory for real books. If you can't even do that, how can you have the nerve to talk about Malcolm X at all, period? And if you haven't researched Malcolm X, and if you haven't done anything besides a biography done by Hollywood, or quick articles, or if you haven't done more than that, don't talk. Like, just have some respect for where we've come and the people who fought and died and sacrificed and went through a lot for us. Period. So that's how Jay, like, sliced and diced Carl. Like, don't ever talk this foolishness again. um and that's the Grapevine reaction that I had. um and they didn't really hit on police brutality per se, but I wanted to shout out all the people who are still, you know, shouting out the people who are victims of police brutality, keeping them trending, keeping the police and the police departments on high alert. If that's emailing them for a demand for justice, calling them for demand of justice, protesting for a demand of justice, or just symbolic gestures like hashtagging them. Everything is important as far as getting the word out. But I just, after this last case of 7 shots fired at this unarmed black man, Jacob Blake, I'm really over the good cop, bad cop framing of things. I think we're over that. Are we over that now? Because, and I was discussing with my husband, and he was just saying, like, and I agree, there is no good and bad. No good and bad. There's just human. Okay? There's just human. So one day, a good cop can, help you with your groceries, or help you find your lost cat, or help the old lady cross the street and solve crimes and actually do what they're hired and paid to do. We have a lot of those. That's fine. But one day they can be like this, and another day they can be shooting an unarmed black man 7 times in the back because they were threatened, or they were scared, or they had a lot of stress, or it was a difficult job that day. So this same good cop can have a bad day. So this good cop, bad cop is just an excuse, another excuse to, like, gaslight people that have an actual concern or a fear of the police. So let's not do the good cop, bad cop anymore. They're all human, and they all need to be held accountable. If they do egregious, reckless things at work, when it requires you to be rational and trained and using common sense and discretion, if that's not what you're able to do, get another job. So it's not a good cop, bad cop thing. It's, you're a human, and if this job isn't for you, get out. Instead of, oh, all blue lives matter, and all lives matter, and instead of having to deflect, dismiss, and try to dodge the inevitable culpability you deserve, how about you just do something else so you won't have to worry about this type of scrutiny? You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know. So tell me what you think. I love to hear your comments, and like, subscribe, and share this video. I appreciate your support. Head over to Patreon for bonus content, and I'll see you next time. Bye.